Hey Paul, how are you?
Good, Autumn. How are you?
I can't hear you right now, but it's probably me.
Oh, I just tested my
Um,
mic, so I think it's okay.
let's see what's happening here.
I can hear
Can you?
you okay. I can hear you.
Okay. Um, okay, it says I should be able to hear you.
Yeah, you can't, eh?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect.
That's so weird.
There was
Sorry
some
about
sort of
that.
delay there. All good.
Yes. How are you doing?
Yeah, I can't complain. Little crazy, but that's okay. That's what we want.
You had a good trip. I know you were out at a conference.
Yeah, it was down in Florida, which was nice, but there was a few cool days when we were down there, but um yeah, it was busy. It was very productive. It was a dealer conference. It's a group that I deal with in the US called Coolview, and they have 125 dealers across the US. So there's a lot
Wow.
of yeah, there's a lot of interest, a lot of projects going on. It's a little crazy right now. But again, good problems to have. A couple Ottawa projects have uh, reignited as well. So I'll keep you posted as we go along on those.
That would be awesome. Thank you. We need all the good news we can get here.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. Canada was on the upswing last year as far as projects, and it looks like it's going to be the same this year. So,
That's awesome. And congratulations now on being the president.
oh, thank you. Thank you. That's more for outward facing. We don't really have job titles on the inside here. We just but
That's
it
valid.
because we're doing so many different things right now, and I'm working on a lot of things globally that just for optics we wanted to make a little bit of a change.
Nice.
Now, I
Um,
want to make sure I can share my presentation. Okay. I'm
yes, and
not, sorry, go ahead.
I'm also going to make you a co-host,
Okay.
so that in the rare event that my home Wi-Fi kicks me out, the presentation will keep going, and then I'll
Okay.
pop back in. And I think if you go to the bottom there, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay. Share. Here we go. And make sure I'm getting you the right one. Oh, why is it not showing?
I can see it. It might be it, you're in like PowerPoint view.
Yes.
Um, do you see that?
All I see is it says Zoom right now.
Um, are you able to oh, let me pause the record. We're going to get started in a few moments here as folks start to trickle into the call today. Really awesome to see folks from across the country joining us. If you or any of your colleagues weren't able to make it today or stay for the whole webinar, we of course hope you can, but the recording will be shared on Nature Canada's YouTube channel and on our website early next week. So you can always come back and read, watch, re listen to anything you might have missed. Today, it's really awesome. We have folks from Quebec, we have individuals almost in every province and territory, except for Nunavut, represented today. And if we haven't met before, my name's Autumn Jordan. I'm the Bird Friendly City Organizer at Nature Canada. I've been working here since 2021. Really honored to have this opportunity and to be joined today by Paul Groleau, the president of Feather Friendly. And throughout today's webinar, you're more than welcome to pop any questions that come up in the Q&A box in the bottom of your screen. You should see it next to the apps icon, or if you click on more, those three dots, and then the Q&A should pop up, and you can put those in anytime. I'll be monitoring those. And I think I have chat on for everyone. So if you want to introduce yourself in the chat, you're most welcome to. And we'll have space at the end of today's presentation where you can come off mute and ask your questions directly. And I think that's everything from me. But before we get started and I introduce Paul, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge today that the existence of Canada is the direct result of colonial policies that have negatively impacted Indigenous folks for hundreds of years. We're all calling in from a different Indigenous territory today. Right now, I'm calling in from the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people who have lived and nurtured this land for time immemorial. We encourage everyone on this call today to take a moment to reflect on your own history and connection to the land and the peoples whose lands you reside on. If you're unsure and if you want to learn more, a really great resource that I'll put in the chat is native-land.org for more information. Thanks again for listening. And I am going to now introduce Paul. Really excited that he could join us today. Paul is the president of Feather Friendly Technologies, a company I'm sure we're all well aware of, that was established in 2006 to tackle the critical biodiversity issues of bird glass collisions, which claim billions of bird lives annually. Under his leadership, Feather Friendly has become the global leader in bird glass collision prevention, installing over 10 million square feet and constantly growing of product and preventing countless avian fatalities worldwide. Paul combines decades of brand management, product development, and sales strategy expertise with a deep passion for protecting birds. He's been at the forefront of several globally recognized conservation projects, which you'll have the chance to hear more about today, including the McCormick Place project in Chicago, the largest bird glass mitigation effort ever undertaken. Paul's also served on the Canadian Standards Association CSA Bird Friendly Design Standard Committee and collaborates with leading conservation groups and individuals, including American Bird Conservancy, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Audubon Society, and Dr. Daniel Clem Jr. His work aligns with his lifelong passion for wildlife, rooted in his early explorations of forests and wetlands in Northern Ontario. Through his efforts, Paul continues to raise awareness and drive action to ensure a safer future for birds worldwide. And with that, I'm excited to pass it over to you, Paul.
Well, thank you. Thanks for that awesome intro, Autumn. Much appreciated. I do want to thank everyone for their time today. Let me start by saying how happy and honored I am to be having this conversation with Nature Canada and the people who are working directly with the communities. We see a strong alignment between the work you are all doing and what Feather Friendly has been focused on for almost 2 decades. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this June. Today, I'll briefly share with you a little about the collision issue, I guess, about Feather Friendly, who we are, what we do, and what we've been involved in, trends we've noticed in this space. And then I'd love to hear from all of you about what would actually be helpful for Nature Canada and bird-friendly cities moving forward. This is a collaborative effort, And we do need feedback, and the idea is we want to work hand in hand. So I've got a series of slides I'll go through. I'll try not to talk too long, so we got lots of time to speak at the end and have questions and answers. So here we go. The issue. The overall bird population in North America has been dropping dramatically since the 70s. We've lost billions of birds in a very short span of time. Many studies have shown that the second leading human-related cause of this issue is due to glass collisions, and the current estimates are 1 billion plus birds are lost per year. Really, the two recent studies have shown that's just in the USA. And we do know that a lot of these birds fly through, Canada to reach the boreal forest, etc., and are going through large cities, Toronto, Montreal, out in Vancouver, these glass related cities. So we do know that this isn't a survival of the fittest situation. Glass kills healthy breeding age birds, birds with babies at home in a nest, and species at risk that are already struggling. So again, this just sort of shows Dr. Daniel Clem and team's study that was published in 2024, as well as there was a second study published by the American Bird Conservancy and New York City Bird Alliance that show an annual mortality of 1.28 billion to a 3.46 billion, as high as 5.19 billion in the United States. And we know this is a global issue. We now have projects in over 48 countries and counting. And there's been several studies that show that this is a global issue. So, oh, sorry, guys. Bird collisions can happen all year. They rise dramatically during spring and fall migration. You can see here the major flyways and the major spring and fall migration flyways. And most collisions can happen after light pollution draws birds into the cities where they encounter glass, often fatally. There's a lot about lights out programs, which we are big supporters of. However, the second piece to this is glass is what kills. So we are a big supporter of a proper lights out program, and treating glass is the 1-2 combination for avian conservation. You get into these large cities that the whole city has to have a lights out program to have an impact. You can have 4 buildings in the Chicago city skyline that are following lights out and the rest aren't. It really has no change on what happens with bringing the birds off their flight path and being drawn into the cities. So again, we know that this is a global problem. Collisions have now been documented in nearly 100 countries. And with more research happening worldwide, this number will continue to rise. In fact, we can say with a lot of confidence that whatever birds and glass coexist, collisions take place. So this isn't just about common birds. A research paper done by Dr. Peter Sanger has shown that nearly 2,000 species of birds worldwide have been documented as collision victims, and more victims are being discovered each day. Many species most affected by collisions are already in decline, like the wood thrush, the Canadian warbler, the Kentucky warbler. Combined with other major threats like outdoor cats, habitat loss, and invasive species, collisions push them closer to local extinction. So, feather friendly, who we are. We were founded in 2006 based on Toronto being the first city in the world to develop bird safe guidelines for new construction. We only focus on bird glass collision mitigation. We don't do any other type of products. We started out as a retrofit company. And our business now is about 70% retrofit, 30% new construction. Countless times we've been proven to be 95+% effective when using a 1/4 inch marker spaced 2 by 2. We are tested and approved by the American Bird Conservancy and Dr. Daniel Clem. I think everyone here already understands how significant bird glass collisions are. Um, so I won't spend too much time on the problem itself, other than, Feather Friendly comes in on the solution side, specifically how to make glass visible to birds. Um, Over the years, again, our focus has been on retrofits, but has gone to large, complex new construction projects and large scale retrofit as well. Durable collision mitigation that communities can actually implement, and most of our products have shown a 95% reduction. So we are protecting birds in over 48 countries. The, the, the really neat thing is we continue to get reach outs globally. And North America has been the lead in the bird safety end of things, where Europe is sort of a little bit behind, but coming up fast, and there's a lot of interest. And really, when it comes down to it, collisions happen wherever glass is present. Um, based on the research that was done by Peter, we're affecting over 2,000 species of birds. And I guess the way Feather Friendly positions themselves is we consider it our responsibility to work globally to protect birds. And it's not about just protecting a few birds. There's so much more to this in the whole biodiversity circle. Um, and I think most of us already know all that, but it's about education. It's about conservation. It's about having those conversations. So what we've been working on. Um, I think most people are probably aware of McCormick Place. It is the largest data set building in the world. It's been monitored for over 43 years by Dave Willard from the Chicago Field Museum. I've met Dave several times. I've been to the Chicago Field Museum. Most of their species in their collection came from that lakeside building. Over 50 odd thousand birds are collected in their collection from that building. Now, we treated over 120,000 square feet of glass at that facility. And first fall migration, the strikes went down 96.8%. Spring migration, the numbers tend to be a little smaller because of not as many birds traveling. Fall migration tends to be bigger because of all the offspring born in the spring and summer months. Showed a 94% reduction in strikes. And then again, this past fall migration, it was like 95.6% reduction. We've treated the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers NBA facility. These are all large projects, and the latest one was the Royal Bank Plaza in Toronto, which was over 50,000 square feet as well. So to give you a sense of scale and range, these are some of the projects we've worked on. You'll see anything from convention centers, sports venues, to museums and municipal buildings. What's interesting is that these aren't outliers anymore. We're seeing bird collision mitigation become part of mainstream conversations, especially when cities are taking leadership roles. Apart from these, we've got some interesting projects happening this year. One in the Netherlands on a military museum. I'm in the final stages, and if everyone can cross their fingers for us, a 33,000 square foot project in Barcelona, Spain. And this spring, we are doing a massive project in North Toronto that is approaching 98,000 square feet. And this is on top of all our regular projects, big and small. So we're very grateful to be in this space. And I will share, that if it's not for advocacy groups, if it's not for people like you, we probably wouldn't be a business. There's a lot of people involved in all of this. McCormick Place didn't happen because we just came along and said, hey, install our product. There was years and years and years of advocacy work from various groups that paved the path. We got a little bit of the fanfare at the end because we were the solution and the results. I am a firm believer it takes a village. So here's some of the McCormick Place documented results. Um, you can see in 2022, 771 deaths, and this is just in fall migration. 1280 in 2023. That was the year of the mass strike. Um, Strange phenomenon. And then after installing Feather Friendly, the deaths went down to 18. So the numbers are dramatic. Again, this isn't unique. We've been experiencing this for years upon years upon years. So it's something we would expect if you're installing our product or a building is installing our product. We expect to see the exact same results. So 6 factors to consider for collision prevention. There's 2 things that are, well, this is treating for the correct issue. Best practice is always going to be first surface exterior application. Anything on the interior glass can be and will be lost based on reflection. And the reason why I share this is we treated 13 buildings last year, 12 in the US and 1 in Toronto, that had spent a lot of money on bird safe glass for us to only have to come along afterwards and install our product. In all of these instances, the treatment was on second or third surface. So when we talk about glass, if you look at that correct placement image in the bottom right-hand corner, the dots are on the first surface exterior. The interior of that piece of glass is considered second surface, then the spacer, then third surface, and then fourth surface interior. Soon as there's reflection in that second photo, that those markers are completely disappear. And we do say to people, put neon post-it notes on the inside of your house and go out at various times of the day and look at the glass. You'll notice that that 2x2 neon pink post-it note totally disappears. So again, first surface treatment for reflection. Optimum spacing is a 1/4 inch marker spaced 2 inch by 2 inch. And that's to protect smaller species of birds, including hummingbirds. Contrast is a big thing. We have had people over the years say, well, we don't want it to affect the look of our building. We've got dark glass, so we want to put a dark colored marker on it. It doesn't work. You got to figure a bird's traveling at that glass 25, 30 kilometers an hour. It needs a visual clue to avoid that glass. If you've got a dark marker on dark glass, that bird's going to see that marker way too late. So the whole idea, again, is to notify the bird that there is something in its path and they will avoid the structure. So again, 6 factors: treating for the correct issue, the optimum spacing, the contrast, correct placement, building height. So there's legislation right across North America that talks about building height. And here in Toronto, the green standard is up to 16 meters. New York is ground to 75. And in DC, it's the most stringent standard and it's ground to 100 feet in the air. Birds can collide higher in a building during migration. However, the numbers are, much smaller than in that first 1 to 3, 5 to 6 floors. I think a lot of people focus on commercial buildings as being the biggest killers of birds. Well, research shows that it's residences and low rise buildings based on the sheer volume of them. The large commercial buildings get the heat or the press on them because they're public buildings. You know, there may be lawyers in there, there may be a banking facility, and you could have 500, 1,000 people walking in and out of those doors every day, and they're walking over a dead bird or dead birds. Um, I've done presentations where I'll start and I'll say, okay, who's experienced a bird strike in the room? Everyone's hand goes up. More than three, hands start to go down. More than five, hands start to go down. By the time I reach eight, everyone's hands are down. I always say, whatever number you have in your hand, in your head, multiply that times 10, and that's probably more realistic of what you're getting. And people always look at me like I've got three heads. Pre-pandemic, we were away from our homes 8 to 12 hours a day. A bird can strike and be killed and scavenged within minutes. A bird can hit, be stunned, and fly away to local vegetation to die a painful death within the next 24 to 48 hours. We're not seeing these strikes because we're not there. At the start of the pandemic of COVID, we were told to start working from home because we were not, what was the term that they used was, you know, medical staff or, must have workers. Our residential business blew up within that first week. We processed over 400 orders. And basically it was calls and emails saying, I thought I had one or two bird strikes a year. I've had four today. I've had six today. And it was right in spring migration. So this is an issue. We do know that, again, the residences and the low rise are the biggest killers based on the sheer volume of them. The second image there, the full glass coverage, that is key. I was just working on a project for a university in the US, and they wanted to treat the second, third, and fourth story of a building, but not the first. So my question was, well, why not the first? Well, we don't like the way it looks, or it might impede view. Well, first of all, the markers only cover about 6 to 8% of the glass surface. And I said to them, you can treat the second, third, fourth story. That first story that's untreated will be killing lots of birds. Again, birds change flight path with a split-second decision. They'll be flying at that second level or the second story and go, oh, okay, I can't go there. And they dip down and it'll hit that glass that's untreated. So again, full glass coverage is key. Trends we're seeing in the field. Across regions, we're seeing a few patterns. As awareness of the issue grows, the trend towards earlier intervention is evident, with communities wanting to address risk before collisions pile up. Another is growing push to integrate bird safety before glass is installed, in particular with architects, planners, increasingly factoring in bird safety for projects. At the same time, I also see a gap, and with plenty of motivation to act, but not always a clear path to move from intention to installed solutions. This is where we intend to work with Nature Canada to address this gap. So why cities matter? In particular, visibility, leadership, being able to replicate it from one city to the next, and action. Cities matter enormously in this space. That's where collision risk is concentrated. But with that leadership, they can make solutions visible and normal. When a school or a library or civic building address bird safety well, it sends a signal to residents, to designers, and to municipalities that it's achievable and worth doing. One of the things that we do to help with this is we have a whole, what we call our project recognition program, which is free. I'll be honest with you, it's probably a tad self-serving because it's got our name on it. However, it educates people. If it's a public building, we do an educational graphic. Why are there dots? Why are there markers on the glass? Explaining to people the issue. A plaque of recognition, social media, as well as a printed case study that can be shared with people. So what we're interested in exploring in the idea of a well-supported pilot projects. we're not just installing product. We're combining real collision risk, monitoring, and public facing education. These kinds of projects serve multiple purposes. They solve a real problem, a real world problem, and give communities something tangible to celebrate and promote. So, again, the possibility of monitoring, installation, education, and then that community awareness, the celebrating of a project. Um, One product model that we've been discussing is a product for projects approach. Communities identifying real sites with real need. Between a group, we will help review for fit and impact. Support could mean product. It could mean special pricing. It could mean guidance, educational materials, etc. We would love to be able to give everyone product to install up. We do need to sell product to keep the lights on and people employed. But first and foremost, our goal is to treat glass and save birds. We will never ever deviate from that. Um, that's a big, big thing for all of us that work here, and in particular myself. Um, the key is for us to ensure projects are set up for success and have the proper framework, not just well-intentioned. So, one of the things that I'm here for guidance. I'm here to assist. You can always reach out to me. You can always email, call me, whatever. I'm here to help as well as Autumn and Nature Canada is. So, this is the real important part for me. You're the ones working directly with the communities. You're the boots on the ground sort of scenario. I'd love to hear what challenges you face, what buildings are hardest to move forward, and what kind of support actually makes a difference. This conversation will help shape and how, will help shape and how we can make the Nature Canada feather friendly collaboration move to implementation. So, what are the biggest barriers? What are the hardest buildings to move forward? We all know the big unfortunate bird killers in our communities. What support helps you the most, and how can we share success widely? So that's it for me, guys. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I glossed over some things. I'm happy to answer any questions. Um, I can leave that slide up if you want for a few minutes, and we can, if anyone wants contact information, grab it, drop me an email. By all means, we're here to assist. So hopefully I didn't talk your guys' ear off, and happy to answer any questions.
That was great. Thank you so much, Paul. I love your graphics as well, and this one that you have up right now is so pretty. We got a lot of good notes in the chat here that you might have missed that I just want to point out.
Yes.
Um, so Roland from Calgary says he's had at least two collisions in his 28th floor office window in
Wow.
downtown Calgary in 20 years. Um, Kathleen, this information is super informative and should be watched by everyone regardless
Hmm.
of their interest. And Penny from Lions Bay is mentioning this could be good as a standalone to share with municipal staff, counselors at events. Lexus feels the same. When you're a small organization, recordings like this is a great way to share, covering all the bases as to why this is so important when you're advocating for change. I totally agree. So, yeah, I'll restate that this will be on our YouTube channel and websites, so you can have access to the recording to share widely whenever. Brendan, before we get into some questions, mentions a huge barrier they're noticing is navigating complex procurement processes within municipal governments to address collisions at public facilities. That's a good one. I have some thoughts on that too. Lots of claps, and Lori says thank you and appreciate all this information.
No
Of
worries.
course.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to address Roland's comment, and you know, the collisions will happen higher up in a building, in particular during migration. However, to ever, we know that one of the barriers to this is cost. And full transparency, cost of the product is not expensive. What is expensive is labor and equipment for a dealer to install the product. So for some of these projects, you're talking about equipment that is highly specialized and expensive. To swing stages that hang from the top of a building, to articulating boom trucks with special reach, to special size lifts. That's a big chunk of an expense. So to give people an idea, there's some equipment that can cost $8,000 to rent per week. So that is part of the cost. Um, the labor force is big. To give everyone an idea on the McCormick Place, that was a $1.2 million project at the end of the day to our dealer in the US. Material costs for that project of over 120,000 square feet of glass was about $360,000. So material costs are about a quarter of the overall cost. We've heard over the years that people say, well, retrofitting needs to get cheaper. It needs, and I hate to say this, even with the technology we've developed and how we do things very efficiently. Materials, we don't use an off-the-shelf material, so there's an expense there. The way we manufacture is very unique to what other products are on the market. The cost of the product's never going to decrease, even as we continue to grow and do more volume. Labor and equipment is always going to increase, and that's an unfortunate reality. Um, but and this is why we do what we do, where we do sponsorship with special pricing or material donations, because a part of that is us giving back. And the idea is to raise more and more awareness. Um, and to go to Brendan's point, navigating complex procurement processes within municipal government. Um, I agree with that statement. It's a process. You know, if I get a lead today and we're talking to a client or the building owner or the architect, etc., I'm expecting an 8-month sales cycle where it's not like I'm selling the product tomorrow and they're starting on it. There is a procurement process. Um, we work with a lot of municipalities, government agencies, architects. We deal with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, Department of Defense, Department of Interior, and we've got processes in place to simplify all this and make it easier for them to navigate. What else do we have?
Oh, yep. So I'm happy to, I'm just looking at some of the questions coming in now in the chat. Um, Jason asks, I think you'll have a better answer on this than me, Paul. Are we seeing any manufactured glass solutions on the market? If
Oh
so, what is
yes,
the impact?
yeah. There's
Um,
there's lots of new construction glass that has bird friendly developed into it. It's like anything, not everything's created equally. There are some great solutions that are being offered. There are some not so great solutions being offered. However, they meet code. And this is one thing that um, the Canadian Standards Association, Bird Friendly Standard, we've actually just started talking again this week about updating that standard. First surface exterior is your best practice. And again, of the 13 buildings we treated last year that spent a lot of money on new construction glass, bird-friendly glass, for us to only come in and treat afterwards and at an extra expense, where we've found a lot of success now is in new construction because of our warranties and durability and longevities. 15-year warranty with durability and longevity of 20 plus years. Glass manufacturers are very open to that now. And it's a less costly alternative to bird safe new construction glass. And we do see in a lot of areas where municipalities maybe have it as a recommendation, but not a must have or a standard, it gets cut because there's a cost associated with it. Well, with our product, our solution, there is the opportunity to cut that overall cost quite dramatically. So there's not a massive savings if they do try and cut it. Um, Alexis put, can rebates or funding be created to help communities with expense? There's been a lot of conversation around that, and I know organizations like FLAP are looking at doing that. In the US, there are now two grants. Bird Safe Philly was just awarded a massive grant of about $240,000 US over 3 years. And I know there's a grant in DC right now that's about 150,000 US that is being it's hard. It's something that yes, the rebates and funding needs to happen, it's going to come from all of us in an organized effort to go after government to promote something this like this and develop it further.
That's a great point, Paul. And that ties into another question that we got in the chat here. About information or experience for bird safe design, bylaws, and new development. Definitely, Jason, please reach out to me. You can send me an email. I'm happy to discuss that. And I think many folks on the call here have experience with that too. So I can reach out to you, Jason, or I'll pop my email in the chat before the end of today, since we have some questions also in the chat and the Q&A box. From Jamie, he's wondering, you can probably read this faster than me,
Yeah.
Paul, is having an authorized installer do the work advisable necessary? Is there addition with
It's
finances or materials?
so for the to answer the second part, the financial support, not from our end. Feather Friendly is just able to look after material. We have authorized dealer applicators throughout the world, and we can put you in touch with them, but they will have, costs associated with installing product. However, there are many, many people who have done volunteer installs, who have installed the product themselves. Brendan, who's on here, led a charge in London with volunteers installing product. Um, the warranty stays the same. The durability and longevity stays the same. Again, the material costs are about a quarter of the overall project cost. So, if you can do the work, depending on the I guess the glass, the building, etc., um, you can save a lot of money and you can probably get a lot more work done if you have a volunteer group doing it. And again, we've done it countless times all over the world where there has been organized groups to do the installation.
Thank you.
So I see Penny's comment there about the markers will spoil the view from the inside of the building, and the cost of bird-friendly windows adds to housing costs during the housing affordability crisis. So again, our biggest thing is people always go, well, it's going to spoil my view. There's a phenomenon between your eyes and your brain. Your nose is always in your line of sight. We do not focus on it. You may now that I've mentioned it, but I install in your house or in a building today. You come into that room and you go, oh, there's the markers. It's like the screen on a window. You look through the screen or past the screen. You don't look at the screen. Markers cover 6 to 8% of the glass surface. They actually appear darker. I'm looking at my glass in my office. They appear darker from the inside, looking out because they're backlit. They almost blend into the surrounding area. Um, my biggest thing is, and I'm a firm believer in this, is we've done for various size projects a test window. We eat, live, breathe, sleep this. People don't understand this the way we do. We have samples that you can put up, or you can treat the whole window so that the powers that be can see what it looks like. Give it 2 weeks' time, they don't notice it. They don't focus on it. We've done multi million dollar homes along the California coast. One was featured in Architectural Digest magazine with our markers all over the glass. So it's again, it's about education. It's about having that conversation.
Great points. Just to tie us back to the Q&A box, I know the chat's going crazy right now. Chris is wondering what exactly was done for the retrofit at the Royal Bank Plaza in Toronto, and Glenn is wondering, are the glass companies changing where they put the dots and now putting them on the outside of the glass where they belong? He thought glass companies put dots on the inside of the window to make sure they didn't wear off. But as you've said, feather friendly is extremely durable and has high longevity. So sorry,
So to
two
answer that
questions there.
second, yeah, to answer that second question about the new construction glass, there are manufacturers that do install have new construction glass on first surface exterior, definitely. Um, Second surface meets code. So again, it's about this education factor. Um, a lot of it has to do with technology and durability, longevity for the glass manufacturers as well. Um, and I'm sorry, what was was the
Royal
uh,
Bank.
Royal Bank. So for anyone who knows that building, it is an extremely unique building. It has what we term sawtooth glass, where it's not a flat facade. The glass actually angles out like this in several spots. The install was very, very tricky and actually incorporated some custom equipment that was built for the installation. Um, that was a very unique one. So TD Towers was the number one bird killer building in Toronto. It got treated several years ago. So then Royal Bank building became, it was number two. It got upgraded to number one. So now the top two buildings in Toronto have been treated. And we do know of several other buildings that we're in conversation with and are looking to do treatment. And again, one of them in North Toronto will happen this spring.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. Um, Quickly, Allison, yes, window washers can, and I've seen them install markers out in Calgary, here in Ottawa too. Allison is wondering, can you make custom feather-friendly treatment designs incorporating logos, etc.? And how's it applied in big sheets, rolls, or dot by dot?
Oh no. So I think some of you might be used to our DIY, which is a 1/4 inch DIY. You're laying down one row of markers at a time. So everyone is aware that is designed for a window, a patio door. Full disclosure, it can be a bit tedious to get 100% straight and square. My OCD would kick in if it's not all aligned properly. We have various formats. We have a 6 inch wide Pro DIY. We have an 18-inch wide Pro DIY, and then we have our large scale 36-inch wide product. So, as this goes on, if you have a cafe that wants to treat 85 square feet of glass, I'd go with the 6 inch DIY. It's quite easily installed by volunteers. Where we use our large scale product is, when we're talking, hundreds upon hundreds of square feet. Um, Custom. We do all kinds of custom. Actually, you can check on our website. We just started a new artist series as well. So we're integrating full graphics, full graphic design. Um, we did a project with Brendan in London for a municipal building that had feather friendly on the majority of the windows. but then had printed graphics on certain sections of the windows. So there's all kinds of things you can do. Thinking outside the box is what we do best. There's all kinds of ways to um, to address this, to get creative. You know, when we started this 20 years ago, people wanted the least obtrusive that you couldn't really see. Now we're working with architects on full graphics, full custom. So there's all kinds of things that can be done. I'm just
Thank
sort of
you, Paul.
scanning through here too. Um, Uh, Jamie had talked about public buildings that have window treatments done by volunteer groups. Jamie, I would suggest it's probably best to drop me an email or touch base with Autumn and get in touch with me because I can supply a list for you. Um,
Totally. A point from, sorry to bring it back to the Royal Bank Plaza. Chris is wondering if you treated every story.
no, so there's a little work still to be done this spring that couldn't be done by fall of last year. It actually got missed on the scope of work. Um, so we didn't treat the entire building by any means. It was, and this is something to consider, guys. To treat an entire building can be very, very costly. Why not zero in on the critical areas? Perfect example of this is we've worked with the University of Chicago. We'll be dealing with them again this year for our sixth year. What they did is they looked at every building on campus and basically rated them from critical to least critical. First year, we treated three or four different facades on three or four different buildings. So it's not like you have to do all four facades of a building. If you're killing 100 birds per month and 75 of them are on the east side, treat the east facade. Having birds killed, period, is unacceptable, but you're going to get more traction by saying, let's treat this area first. The other part of it is the powers that be aren't willing to spend huge amounts of dollars because they still think this is snake oil. Even though we've been doing this for 20 years and there's all this data, you get some product up on a building, you're saving those 75 birds on that east facade. That's a massive win. So then when they start seeing birds, the other 25 hitting another facade or seeing other facades on campus being an issue, they know exactly what needs to be done. They know the solution. It's an easier conversation for you. So again, treating it in phases, I highly, highly recommend.
Thank you. We're seeing that here in Ottawa too, with some areas. Um, Jason's wondering, is the backer on the strips acceptable recycling in most municipalities?
No, none of the product, none of the byproduct of feather friendly or any window film will be because it has adhesives on it. We've done all kinds of research on all of this, how it could be reworked or recycled. But at that point, it is considered a contaminated material. So it cannot go into existing sort of recycling. We've even looked at outside recycling, and because of adhesive, they won't take it. Um, Kathleen made a comment about new construction is critical. I highly support this. However, you look at any major city, Toronto, New York, Chicago, Montreal, Vancouver, the new construction is only about 1 to 2% of what's going on in the city. The city of Toronto has over 100,000 buildings that ideally should be addressed. That could be a major killer. I'm not trying to take away from what Kathleen is saying. I do agree new construction is definitely critical. However, we can't take our eye off what's already existing because there's so much of it. Um, Penny talked about how I can expand on how costs can be reduced up front for new builds. So it's plain and simple about ordering glass that is not bird friendly, but they would order the glass with their low E, with their formula to it, and then adding feather friendly to it. So realistically, we've had glass companies where they've actually installed the product themselves. They've bought the material, installed it on the glass, and then shipped it to site. We worked with Sage Glass out of Minnesota on a new construction project for the University of Florida, 18,000 square feet of glass, where we actually had our dealer working in shop as the glass was coming off, installing feather friendly. It was then created and shipped to the University of Florida. Now, my understanding, and take this with a grain of salt, it's third party. Bird safe glass can be $45 to $85 a square foot. Feather friendly material costs are like that $4.20 a square foot. Supplied and installed can be $12 to $15 a square foot, depending on equipment and all that sort of stuff. So you can still buy glass that's, in the $20, $30 mark at our product and be less expensive than a bird safe glass. Now, I'm not saying that is the ultimate goal or the best practice. There are some great new construction glass out there that I support 100%. It just here's an option. And we do know this comes down to cost. We hear it all the time. There's a cost factor to this. How can we limit that cost or reduce that cost? Linda says, how does the applied product last? 15-year warranty, 20 plus year durability, longevity. And that's in every climate known to mankind. We've installed in Alaska, Australia, New Zealand, high UV, Arizona, high heat, and everything in between.
That's awesome. I'm wondering, Paul, on the specific product project partnership, for Lisa's question, they do have permission to install decals at the visitor center in a conservation migratory stopover site in Eastern Ontario. With the parameters that we've laid out together, is this type of project that you would suggest Lisa bring forward to us?
100,000%. Those are the ones where you've already got the buy-in from the client or the end user, whatever. Those are fantastic. And then that becomes the opportunity to point to. That's the one that's celebrated. That's the one that has the project recognition program um, process to it.
How
Jessica,
how oh,
oh, sorry, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to read Jessica's question.
Oh, so once a target building, how long does the planning and retrofitting process take? So the biggest legwork to this is going to be the communication, is going to be the education, is going to be able to get their buy-in. As far as our end or an authorized dealer applicator, it's very quick. We turn product within a few days. A dealer can usually schedule an install within 2 to 3 weeks, depending on time of year and how busy they are. The retrofitting process, it depends on the size of the project. You know, um, McCormick Place was at some point, at sometimes 9 installers over 3 months. Again, it depends on the size of the project.
Totally. And what about what has been helpful, whether it's universities or municipal buildings or a condo board? Have you found any successful tactics in convincing them that this is something they should do?
Okay, so everyone's aware of this issue. The more data you can bring to them, so using Flaps global world mapper, there's data. If there's monitoring groups, you can actually go to a building and say, look, here's documented strikes from last year. Um, I am not a big shaming fan because we've seen, throughout North America and worldwide, anytime there's a large shaming sort of scenario, it gets very, very tight-lipped very, very quickly. Um, TD Towers, and I will share that we were working with them on behind the scenes before it really got global. I'm not saying that it's not good to have, support from the community to bring awareness, to speak to people about things. There's that fine line, isn't there, about approaching someone and not, how do I say this, putting their back up against the wall so they shut down. One of the things that happened with TD Towers is it's owned by a large management group. They didn't want to celebrate that project because what they were worried about was the other buildings within their portfolio and people calling those buildings out. Um, it is a bit of a fine line. We helped McCormick Place quite dramatically with, I guess, the feel-good story to it afterwards about celebrating them, about bringing awareness to the issue. Um, it's it's a fine line. I think speaking to people who that they've got a problem, guys, bird of prey decals on a building, those are the ones that you knock on first because they're telling you they have an issue, but they've got a solution that will never work. I think everyone sort of realizes a bird of prey decal, two on a window on a 6 foot wide window is not going to help any. They're the ones who have already told you they've got a problem. Going after, speaking to a university, talking to a building that that there's an issue, engaging with them. And I'm happy to assist with all of that. I can, maybe give you some guidance, and so can Autumn, so can Nature Canada. This isn't about us or me. It's about how we do this, together. Um, sorry, it sometimes I'm rambling. I hope that makes sense.
No, no, that was a great answer, Paul. And yeah, just to reiterate that Nature Canada, myself and Paul, we're all here to support you and answer all your questions because we know this is difficult. I also volunteer here in Ottawa working on those exact same issues and challenges that have been brought up in the chat. So, it takes a village. So please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us about the projects that you're considering and to learn more information. I know we're almost at time. I know we haven't been able to get to everyone's questions. Paul, if you're able to stick around for 5 minutes or so.
Guys, I'm good for it's 3 o'clock. I'm good for another half an hour if need be.
Okay, perfect. Same here. Thank you. So then hopefully we will then be able to get to everyone's questions. Shifting gears a little bit here, Kathleen is wondering for the artist series, there was also a link shared in the chat, as well as the Global Bird Collision Mapper. Can an artist create a design and adjust that to create the installation?
For sure, for sure. And I do want to note, Kathleen, thank you for your two notes there. And I hope you understand too. I wasn't picking apart your comments because I do agree with the new build. It's huge. Um, why not address the issue before it even becomes one? And I think that's really, really key. Oh, I like Lori's remark, awareness versus shaming. I think that's key. I really do, guys. Um, and
Um,
and sorry,
Chris
what
is
else? I'm sorry, I'm reading questions and I shouldn't be because it's distracting me and I'm getting my train of thought goes. Um,
It's okay. Sorry to bring it back to the Royal Plaza. Chris is
yes.
wondering how high did the treatment go? How were the
Uh,
markers applied?
so it was our large scale product. And I can go into further detail on that if you want. Think of Feather Friendly as a massive transfer sheet. It's not a full film. So only the dots remain on the glass, and that's done for the durability and longevity. Regular cleaning is not an issue. On Royal Bank, in some areas we went 4 stories high. In another area it went to a fifth story. That is a very, very unique building based on the architecture. Um, it is one of the most prominent buildings in Toronto as well as far as architectural design. Majority of buildings are very sort of straight on, flat glass, call it a box. If you have a 5 story building, there's no benefit to treating 4 stories. You're going to treat all 5 stories. Perfect example is there was a project done in Toronto several years ago. It was a 6 story building. They only wanted to treat the first 4 stories based on that's where they were getting all the collisions. It was a relatively new build. So the landscape around it was immature. The trees grew. Now the trees are at the 6 story level. And now they're experiencing strikes on the fifth and sixth story. So they would have saved themselves a lot of money if they just treated the first 6 stories right in the beginning. Now, it sounds like we're trying to sell more material and make more money, but that's not the case. We know this based on all our experience. We know it based on research.
Thank you, Paul. To go up to an earlier question that I might have missed from Jess in Halifax, she's wondering how else can we go about finding builders and buildings that want to become those demonstration sites that we've been talking about? They've emailed, they've called, they've put out public calls, they've had their supporters and bird team members do, and they've only gotten one response from a building owner.
So, honestly, guys, I think where you're going to get your biggest success and what this program or initiative is really around, how to say this? I'm trying to be politically correct. The large buildings, they have the money to do this if they want to. I think the biggest success you are going to have is going after smaller, a cafe, um, a small business that they may not have the funds to do this or the know-how. And guys, this program will go further if we're treating 10 cafes than we're trying to treat one building. And I think that will add to everyone's success. I'll be honest with you. I know this may sound wrong, but I don't want to give special pricing to a large corporation that can afford to do this. I know that may sound wrong, but these are the guys that have the money to do it. Like McCormick Place, we weren't going to give them special pricing. They got market rate pricing. It's key. Oh, Kathleen just said, and sorry, I got the chat up, so it's perfect. That is excellent. Um, Animal shelters, SPCA's, and Jess, touch base with me separately if you want. Um, and we can talk about your municipality and maybe some thoughts you've had, or maybe some buildings that may be on your radar. I can help further. Um, Penny just put, it'd be helpful if there's a handout on cost comparisons. Well, yeah, we can do that. However, the big part of this is every project is 100% unique. So that's why I would always say connect with Autumn and myself, and we can sort of guide you through that. Um, a download for municipal and staff council owners. We actually do a whole architects pack, which has a ton of case studies in it, product information, actual product samples and patterns that we can send out. Major renovations can require permits. You're absolutely right. Um, it's I can help with that too if ever needed. We've been doing this for long enough, and I sort of been privy to a lot of the ins and outs of that, so maybe I can help with that as well. Um, yeah,
And
Kathleen's animal shelters, SPCA's, the not-for-profits, those are huge. Um, the project Brendan did in London was for a food bank. They wanted to do the right thing, but let's face it, a food bank's not going to have the funds to treat their windows. Local animal bird rehabbers. Ah, it's a perfect one. Any of the parks, those are big ones. Jamie talks about Fleming's College Frost Campus, big time. That was a great project we did with them, with Zach and gang up there. They did a fantastic job of raising the awareness, getting the glass treated. Um, and that's become a big focal point for them. And in that community, there's been a lot of other projects based on that. So again, it's having that first project that maybe it's the point to for Jess, getting that cafe that may only be treating 35 square feet of glass, that may become, and uh, you know, that becomes your example. That becomes your point to, hey, look, this bird, or sorry, this cafe has treated their glass, and then that's the starting point. That's a great talking point. Hey, look at what they've done. What? Take a look at what it looks like. Get pictures, all of that.
absolutely. And I've even seen that here in Ottawa too, with cafes. It's a really good opportunity. And our line two of our LRT
Mhm.
is treated. I wish that we saw more of those educational elements to be able to point to using the LRT.
So
Um,
we are seeing a lot of interest, like the National Capital Commission in Ottawa has actually done a survey of all 200 buildings in their portfolio, and they are addressing them little by little as funds become available. But these are the things we need to celebrate. Um, you know, the um, in Gatineau, the Canadian uh, Museum of Nature, they treated their
yes,
windows, what, 8 years ago, I think.
I think so.
Um, we've done a lot of projects in Ottawa. And so everyone's aware, anyone in the Quebec region, Montreal has passed legislation. We are getting a lot of interest from Montreal and surrounding municipalities. Um, they even went to the extent of all pools need to be surrounded by a glass surround now. It's not just you can have a pool in your backyard. It actually has to be sort of gated off for any drowning possibilities. So we're now starting to see that clear glass railing starting to be treated quite a bit more. So there's guys, my wife gets mad at me because we'll be driving along and I'm always like, I gotta stop and look at this building. I gotta see what glass that is, or, oh, that's a bird killer. I look at glass so differently. And to Kathleen's point, that should be a tattoo, or that's tattoo worthy or shirt worthy. Every single window helps to normalize window treatments, which is so key.
Totally. And I'm the same, Paul, when I'm out driving around. I annoy all my friends, even if we're just walking downtown. What would be the dream project, I guess, that we could help support together? And what would you say would be the main things we're looking for? Of course, it's laid out in the document. You had it up on the screen here. Some things around the community impact. We've talked a lot of examples about the community impact
I,
and those locations. Is there
I,
anything else that would stand out to you outside of, the elements of risk of bird collisions or collision monitoring?
I think the biggest thing, guys, is if we could focus in on high profile. And again, high profile doesn't mean massive expansive glass. It could be that cafe with that's a very well-known cafe in the community, and maybe they're selling bird safe coffee, or maybe they're very vocal in the community. Having that and being able to really celebrate it, and that's where Autumn and I can help with that whole celebration through our social media, the project recognition program, all of that. Um, You'll be amazed at how one conversation leads to another conversation, leads to another conversation. Um, One of the things that we're quite proud about is, there's a lot of advocacy groups that we work closely with, that we support. And it's almost like things spread by wildfire. You'll be amazed in your community, you start talking and it starts going out like this. You get more and more people involved, more and more people are aware. All of a sudden you get a project. Oh, all of a sudden there's two more coming along. All of a sudden the municipality wants to talk to you. Um, Guys, we've been doing this for, again, almost 20 years. I would have said pre-pandemic, I would have said we're still a startup company, even though we had a lot of employees and a lot of projects. I still talk to architects that have no concept on this idea, never even knew it was an issue. We have in our boardroom, we've got our feather friendly logo, and the tagline is education, conservation, proven solution. And I can talk a lot. I got the gift of gab, and I think that's helped us because it is having these conversations. Um, it can be frustrating, guys, but don't give up. For every 20 calls you make or contacts you make, you might get one. We're used to that. We're here to support you in any way possible.
Thank you, Paul. I think maybe we have one more question here, or two more questions here, one from Allison, one from John. One from Allison is how to go about promoting retrofitting of private homes, especially, maybe you don't know your neighbors. What could be some tactics there?
Well,
And,
sorry, Adam, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
no,
We do
that's
have
okay.
we have a brochure that we can share to everyone, that you can hand to people when you're having the conversation. Um, you know, we've heard of people, and I've had countless calls over the years where someone has treated their own windows, and it spurs on conversation. The neighbor goes, "Oh, hey, what's with the dots on your window?" And then they go, "Well, I do that to avoid bird collisions." And they go, "You know what? I had three last week. I didn't know it was an issue or knew there was a solution." And that is a big thing too. It's people don't understand. Um, there will be opportunities, guys, if you want to do community events, hit Autumn and I up. Maybe we can donate some DIY, to treat a window. Um, I noted it. I'm sorry, I'm going down here. And Penny put doing nothing is not an option. I love that because, you'll be amazed at if you do talk to your neighbor, they go, "Oh yeah, I killed three birds last week." It's like, okay, now it's that call to action. Hey, do you know that this is a big issue? It's not about those three birds being killed. It's about biodiversity. It's about seed spreading. It's about pollination. It's about, hey, how everyone knows about if we lose bees, the planet will die. Well, same with birds. They are those cross pollinators too. They are those seed spreaders. They fall under that same category. And I think the big thing is for me, as I'm getting a little older too, is I don't have grandchildren yet, but hopefully I will at some point. I want those grandchildren seeing the exact same species that I have had. I was lucky enough to spend a lot of my childhood in the summers up north at my grandparents' retirement home up in Utterson, Ontario. I saw more wildlife, and that's what got me hooked as a kid. Because when I came back, I lived in Burlington, Ontario. I was the kid who brought home the stray kittens, the injured birds. I had mice at one point, um, you know, squirrels. Um, I may have been a little misguided in what I wanted to do with these animals at that time. I know now that we need to get them to rehabbers, etc. But nature is my happy place. That is where I clear my mind, that I feel the most grounded. And guys, this isn't a job for me. It's a passion. I absolutely love what I do. And I wake up in the morning going, hey, I get to go to work today. I feel so great about what we have done as a company and what all of you are doing to raise the awareness about this global issue. So, um, we just want to keep this momentum rolling. The awareness is at an all-time high. Uh, Talking to local media is good because we're starting to see it's accepted a lot with local media now that they want to tell the story because nature is such a big thing that we want to hold on to.
Yes, that's such a good point. And yeah, making me feel so many things there, Paul. You're such a great speaker. John has a question. With the education and recognition program,
Yes,
are there stickers that can be added alongside the installation? Can those include QR codes for folks to scan and to learn more about the product? Could you tell us a little bit more about
definitely.
that?
Hang on 1 second. I need to run to the other room and I'm going to get something to show you guys.
I hope you all are enjoying today's call as much as I am. And Allison, to your point, yes, the DIY like singles can be super hard to install, but reaching out to some of the suggestions that Kathleen put in the chat, or even emailing Paul to see if there is an installer in your area could be helpful. For anyone at home, highly recommend the DIY Pro. That's in the sheets as opposed to the strips. Paul's back and he's got the
I'm
lovely
back. So,
stickers.
to answer that question, part of our project recognition program, and I realize I believe this shows in reverse to you guys, but this is the sort of stuff we do. So, we produce these and they're all customized, but I'll tell you, it says we are saving birds. 1 billion birds die annually in North America due to collisions with glass. Thanks to the incredible effort of the Bruce Peninsula Bird Observatory, feather-friendly collision deterrent markers have been applied to the glass. The goal is to prevent avian loss, preserve biodiversity, and educate others on this vital conservation strategy. Bruce Peninsula Bird Observatory logos there. We do it in their colors. We do QR codes. Um, there's one in Philly that we did with Bird Safe Philly. The same thing. Uh, Here's another one in the Chicago area, a college. Again, these are 100% customizable. We will supply one, we will supply 21. The more that go up on the glass, the more education happens. And we can do it with, again, those QR codes that go to a website, or further information, or goes to the community college, or goes to the university. That's just one part of it. Then we do printed case studies that are multifold, large case studies. You will find you'll get good buy-in because it gives the end client the ability to do a little bit of this. Look at us. We're good corporate citizens, which again, we want because it just, again, raises that awareness.
Paul, would just for one sec, would you mind stop sharing and then we can have
Oh, yes.
the camera in large screen for
Oh,
you
sorry.
to see them? No, no worries. I didn't realize either. Ronald
How's
pointed it
that?
out.
How's
That
that? Does
looks
that show
great.
up better?
Yes, that's awesome. And
So
what about
everyone, sorry, I was just going to say on these are 8 inches round. So the idea is you can put them in near the entrance, near a visible area. We'll put any logos on it. We'll put the Nature Canada logo on it. We'll put the Bird City Network logo on it. Like any of that information can be added. And again, we offer these free of charge. So we want them going up. The same with the case studies, the same with the plaque. And everyone can take a look at our um, social media channels to see the stuff that has been um, showcased through our social media.
And I guess for the homeowner front, at least when I've looked at the DIY kits myself, they have those stickers that you can put up on your window as well, talking about, this glass is saving birds, right?
Yes, it exactly. So for even for the DIY, we have it's about that big, and it says this glass is bird safe, and then it goes into a little bit of the blurb. So we highly recommend, people installing because I know I've said it 100 times. I'm a broken record here, but it's about that education part of it.
It
And
really is, and that's what the bird friendly teams and our bird advocates are the best at. And it's I can only imagine what it's been like for you, Paul, in the past 20 years. You know, you probably get the same questions that entire time.
we do, but it's good that, and we're doing a total revamp of our website right now, and we take all these questions that are being asked all the time, and are trying to integrate it more, so those questions are being answered. But saying that, there's nothing better than a conversation around it, because there's a lot of people who don't understand the various nuances to this, that you know you may be asked something and you might not have the answer for it, or may not be 100% sure. Ask away. The odds are we've been asked it and can sort of, give an answer that's good for all involved.
I love that. Thank you, Paul. I think we'll
No worries.
probably wrap up here. I really appreciate you taking the time and the extra time today. Um, I really enjoyed today's call, learned a lot. I'm really excited to work closely with the folks who have some projects in mind to get the ball rolling there. And as always, thank you everyone for joining us today. This recording, again, I'll just say, will be up on our website and YouTube channel, so you can check it out anytime. And if you haven't yet visited Feather Friendly's website, please do. And don't be shy to drop me a line or to get in contact with Paul. So happy everyone could be here today. I'm going to stop the recording.